From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Monday, June the 18th, 2018. A former minister in the Israeli government was charged today with spying for Iran on Israel. Israel's security agency, the Shin Bet, revealed today that Gonen Segev was indicted in a Jerusalem court on Friday on charges of assisting the enemy in wartime and a number of other related crimes, including giving the Islamic Republic sensitive information about locations of security centers and Israel's energy industry over the last 6 years. Segev served in the Knesset from 1992 to 1996 when he left politics, and in 2004 he was arrested for drug smuggling and went to jail for several years. Upon his release, he left Israel and settled in Nigeria. Last month, Segev traveled from Nigeria to Equatorial Guinea, where he was arrested by local police and sent back to Israel. More details of the case against Segev remain under a gag order. But later today, the Times of Israel reported that Segev admitted to investigators he was in contact with Iranian officials, but he said he did so in order to help Israel and that he did not hand over any classified information. The Shin Bet also revealed today the arrests of over 20 members of terror group Hamas back in April. Together with the IDF and Israel police, the Shin Bet said they uncovered the highly active terror cell operating out of the West Bank city of Nablus. Terror plots included a planned bombing in Tel Aviv and a suicide bombing and attack in Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu lauded the work of Israeli security forces in preventing these deadly attacks and said that Hamas was trying to harm Israel not just from Gaza but from the West Bank, and that Israel would continue to defend its citizens on all fronts. The young Israeli woman who was stabbed in a terror attack last week is improving. 18-year-old Shuva Malka, who was stabbed by a Palestinian man on June the 11th in the city of Afula, held a press conference yesterday with her family. The suspect in her attack, a Palestinian man in his 20s from the West Bank city of Jenin, had entered Israel without a permit. He was arrested after fleeing the scene of the incident. His remand was extended today by another week. A group of Palestinians in Gaza today tried to damage what the IDF called a security infrastructure at the border fence with Israel. The infrastructure, said to be an underground barrier, exploded in the attempt, and one Palestinian man was killed, 4 others were injured. The IDF did not say what the source of the explosion was. There were conflicting reports that it was an explosive device that the Palestinians were carrying in order to use at the fence. Other reports say it was an explosive device planted at the fence to keep such breaches from occurring. And early this morning, 3 rockets were fired at southern Israel from Gaza. 2 fell inside Israeli territory. A 3rd fell short, landing within Gaza. There were no injuries reported. On Sunday, Israel's Air Force targeted a number of Hamas terror sites, including a weapons manufacturing facility in Gaza. The IDF said the attack was carried out in response to the launching of incendiary and explosive kites and balloons at Israeli territory. They said this is terrorist activity that endangers the lives of southern residents and has damaged large amounts of land, referring there to a barrage of balloons and kites sent over the Gaza border fence into Israel on Saturday, rigged with incendiary devices and explosives, sparking at least 20 fires on the Israeli side. Great Britain has added its voice in calling on the United Nations Human Rights Council to end its anti-Israel bias. British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson spoke at the 38th Council session today in Geneva against the Council's Agenda Item 7, a permanent item on the agenda for discussing alleged rights abuses on the part of Israel in the West Bank and Gaza.
That we share the view that a dedicated agenda item focused solely on Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories is disproportionate and damaging to the cause of peace. And unless things change, we shall move next year to vote against all resolutions introduced under item 7. That does not mean we in the UK are blind to the value of this council, including the work it could do on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict under the right agenda item.
Israel is the only country in the world with a dedicated council item. Well, the Israeli co-founder of Waze has a new project in the works. Israeli entrepreneur Uri Levine co-founded the navigation and traffic app that was sold to Google in 2013 for over $1 billion. He is now helping tourists navigate through a different sort of headache, making sure they get their VAT or value-added tax back when they leave a country they visited, an often long and complicated process. The new app, Refund It, is hoping to ease that process. Slovakia is the first country to try out the new app. They were also the first country where Waze was a success. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Monday, June the 18th at 7 o'clock. It's the Wisdom of Dr. Ruth at 7:30. Scholars for Peace in the Middle East, Asaf Ramarowski and Alex Jaffe, talk about the BDS movement on college campuses with Charles Jacobs. At 8, remarks from Christian South African attorney and co-founder of a pro-Israel advocacy group, Olga Melshow, from students supporting Israel at Columbia. At 9, Mark Golub sits down with Gary Kenzer of Honest Reporting on L'chaim. At 10, French intellectual Bernard-Henri Lévy talks about events in Europe and their effects on European Jewry from the 92nd Street Y. And coming up right after this newscast tonight at 6:30, it's the program Frenemies. And that's the JBS News Update for Monday, June the 18th, 2018. I'm Teisha Bader.